Good morning. Welcome, welcome. We're going to give people an opportunity to get logged in. So welcome. This is day number 4, session number 5 for Financial Foundations to Entrepreneurial Peace. Super excited you are here with me. We're getting people joining us right now, which is great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let people in. I love it. Everybody's showing up live.
I know this is so vain, but I feel like my hair looks decent until I get on Zoom. And then I'm like, what? Really? Do I look like that? Am I showing up in public?
That's the beauty of living in like a COVID world with Zoom, because you're always looking at yourself. Like, when in another time would you ever spend so much time looking at your own face?
Exactly.
Like, it's so weird. That was one of the things I noticed kind of early on, and my friends and I would talk about, because then you're like, oh, look at that line and look
Right?
at this, and
I
you never spend that much time looking at your face in a normal time.
There's an option to hide self-view, but then I'm afraid I'll like pick my nose or something if I forget that I'm on camera.
Good morning.
Good morning, Livia. How are you? Welcome,
Good.
Luann
Hey,
and
hi.
Stephanie and Lindy. Welcome. So excited you guys are back. I love it. So we are here for Financial Foundations to Entrepreneurial Peace, day number 4, key number 5. So if you have your workbook, some of you might be catching us on the replay for the first time. So please make sure you download your workbook. I'll put that in the chat right now so that everybody has it, in case you don't have it yet. So put it there for everybody. This is the workbook. Super. And how's everyone doing today? Anyone like to share how they're feeling? Excited for today? See smiles looking at me. People nodding. Very good. Excellent. Well, welcome back. And yesterday I shared a few resources. One of them was SheEO. So I know Stephanie checked it out, her and Luann did. And they are taking applications right now in Canada and the US. Must be majority women owned, women led, and minimum sales of 50,000. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to drop the link in the chat for SheEO because that's a great opportunity to check it out. And as I was saying yesterday, and I know I talked to somebody after the call, Barb, that it's a really great community. And so being a part of it, you can get a lot of support for your business. You may even decide you want to be an investor, like an activator in it, like I am. The other thing too, which is is in your workbook, but I'll drop the chat here too. I've done a series of interviews with a lot of the women in there. I don't have that link right here, but it is in your workbook. Probably done 11 or 12 interviews with some of the women who received the funding, and some from Canada, US, New Zealand, and Australia. So really exciting just to learn about their different journeys, and everyone's business is trying to change the world in some way, shape, or form. And they typically are aligned with one or more of the UN sustainability goals. So that's kind of neat to know that all of those women are working on the world's to-do list, as many of you are as well. So great group to be aligned with. And I've done lots of really interesting training sessions with them over the last year by virtue of being an investor. I did about an 8-month working group session all around social and racial justice. And so I actually got in a group and we tackled education and how does systemic racism show up, and what do we think could happen to actually dismantle that. So another session that I'm involved in ongoing is some really interesting training led by Echo Alec, who is their Indigenous lead in SheEO, and we've been meeting over months to learn more about Indigenous history, more about their protocols, how we can be more in tune with our surroundings around us, and whose land it is, whose water, where did it come from, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it's worth attending to get a sense. Yeah. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Where would we be able to access those interviews that you mentioned?
Yeah, I'm just looking. I don't think I have the link right here. So let me see if I can find it quickly. I don't want to belabor the point here. I think I have it in this one. No, but I can grab it quickly for you. because it's a good way to hear what they're up to. And they're all they're linked here. Here we go. I have them all on one page on my website, so it's easy to find them. They're just really cool stories. There you go. And they're audio only, so you can listen while you're doing something else. So you might be doing some exercises or something. From what I know you are also doing, I know that there might be some other resources that might be of value. So I'm going to just drop a few in the chat for you. Wrong document where I'm grabbing them. Okay, here, this is good. All right. So if you're in Canada, you probably know about, and if you're not sure how to get these all out, there's 3 little dots there, more in the chat box. You can download the chat. So you don't have to necessarily copy them all out. You can save it. Business Development Bank of Canada is the bank for entrepreneurs in Canada. They have fantastic resources that anybody can access. So I've dropped their entrepreneurial toolkit, the link there for you, as well as their business plan template. So if anybody's looking for templates and resources, they also have what I think is kind of fun, a little financial management video game, kind of to help you see what you know and what you don't know. So something to check out. Another great organization is Startup Canada, and they've got tremendous resources for all entrepreneurs, but specifically women as well. And if you are in Canada, you have the opportunity to participate in Startup Chats, which is a Twitter chat party they do every Wednesday. Yesterday, the one they did was around celebrating small business in Canada. And it says they're looking for advisors. If you have a business, you are an advisor. So don't be thinking you need some certain special credentials. They'll have sometimes upwards of 40 women and business owners, not just women, contributing to the Twitter chat. So it's a great way to raise your profile for those who are in Canada. I also put the link there for Young Money podcast. We have business content on YouTube as well, specifically on the YouTube channel is there. And we do a weekly meetup for anybody who wants to just get together regularly on Wednesdays. No pressure to attend. It's not a big networking event. It's a drop-in. Livia has joined us. And so one night we had a nice chat during that time. The other thing I want to mention, yesterday I made the invitation to you for the Cash Control Bootcamp for those who want some additional support and want to take things further. One thing I didn't mention yesterday is proceeds from everything that's happening at Bissett Financial Fitness do go to support the Young Money Scholarship. So scholarships are awarded once annually to several deserving students, post-secondary students who are studying in Canada. They don't have to be Canadian citizens, but they do need to be studying in Canada. So we're in the midst of reviewing applications now for the round of funds that will go out to those students this fall. Okay, so a couple things to mention. Any questions on any of those resources I've mentioned? No, so check them out, download the chat so that you can just pull those links and you'll be able to use those really easy. You've got your workbook. Today is the last day of our formal training. So we will have a couple bonus sessions tomorrow at 2 o'clock, the same time we've been doing every other day this week. But today's where we're going to tie it all together. And so if you think back to Monday, session number 1, Cash Flow 101, and why it's important to know your numbers, I asked you to imagine what would it look and feel like if you had greater control over the financial situation of your business. And for some of you, you may have the knowledge, you may not have the confidence. Some of you were learning lingo, some of you were trying to validate what you already know. And so just think back, even look back in your notes, because I asked you to jot down, how would that look? How would that feel? What was that going to mean for you, your family, other people in your life? When everything's going really well and you're really pleased with the control that you've taken. And so then we moved in Monday. We also talked about how to do that cash flow forecasting. And I know that some people started jotting down some numbers to start thinking about things. And we really started to get into concepts like run rate. How much are your expenses every month? What are those things we've got to cover? Are we getting paid? How is that all coming together? And so being able to have confidence around cash flow is certainly really important. And knowing that you could make that higher, or you could actually take some time off, or no, it's time we've got to increase the prices. Putting all of that kind of into context is really key. And so I encourage you, if you haven't taken a moment to think about it yet, make sure you are understanding that cash flow cycle of your business. When is the money coming in when you start dealing with a new client? When does your money have to go out to pay all your bills, and kind of the timing that that's all working? And if you don't love what's happening, make a change. So maybe it's a different payment arrangement with people. Maybe it is slowing down how quickly you pay your bills. So I'm guilty of this because it's just a personal preference. I pay my bills when I get my bills. That is not the best practice when it comes to managing cash flow. You should be waiting until the day they are due. Not when you're going to incur any interest or any penalties, but I like to just get it off my plate. And so do as I say, not necessarily as I do, but you're going to bring all your personal preferences into things and how you like to proceed. So take that into account. And if that's how you like to operate, make sure you build your cash flow that way. You're not building in some kind of assumption that you don't actually follow. Okay. We got into pricing and we started talking about money stories and what was our childhood like and what was coming up for us. Stephanie was vulnerable and shared that she's just started talking about the prices that were on her website, even though she hadn't necessarily been raising those prices before with actual live people and charging that amount. And so tomorrow, firstly, when we start at 2:00, I'm going to go through a little bit of an exercise and talk to you about money mindset and how we can actually move ours from a place of scarcity, which is the majority of the population in the whole world, to a place of abundance, and give you a few practical tips that you can actually put into practice to do that. So it's not something like flicking a switch that happens overnight, but certainly you can change your relationship with and your reaction to financial matters. Yesterday, we dove into those stakeholder conversations. So we talked about what would happen when you need to call and you need to collect your payments for outstanding invoices. How are we going to talk with our employees? How are we going to talk with the accountant, the bookkeeper? I gave you some suggested language that you might be able to use. If you're so inclined, would love to either see show of hands or drop it in the chat. How many people did their action item? So make a list of the conversations I've been putting off or want to regroup on. Contact one of them to set a time to talk. Did anybody make that step that wants to share? I think Luann's saying no. I don't know. You can put
Well, it
in
was a really busy day yesterday. I definitely know
who it is.
yeah. It's our web developer person. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. How about you, Livia?
Well, I've been thinking hard since yesterday because it's my only client. I'm a client-based business, so
Yeah.
it's a very difficult one. But I'm thinking, and that's good. And I'm jotting down your comments and learning from you, so I appreciate it a lot.
Excellent. That's great. And Stephanie's saying feeling more comfortable with the conversations that are scheduled. And so if you know you're going to be nervous, Livia's just expressed that, have some little notes, have some key points you want to zero back in on so you can stay issue focused and unemotional about it and move through that conversation and see if you can advance the issue. Some might be more complex, so it might require more than one meeting to actually get through those kinds of things. So thank you. So we're going to jump now to page 11, and we're putting together now the full set of keys. So if you imagine cash flow, what is it? Cash flow forecasting. These are two of our keys. Imagine putting them on a key ring. Then we were dealing with pricing. Then we were actually working towards how do we have those conversations. So now we've got the key ring. These keys are jangling. And we're ready to put everything in practice that we've been learning. And so I know some people who are catching on replay, you may not be caught up yet, but please do go back and watch those prior sessions so you can make sure you get all the keys. We are on page 11 of the workbook, and we're going to start right at the top. So in order to hit the goals you have set in your business, you need to be the CEO of your business. This includes being accountable for the financial results of the business. Now, when I've talked about it this way before, sometimes people have expressed discomfort or a dislike for that word CEO. Whatever word resonates with you is what word goes in there. Owner, founder, principal. It doesn't really matter what the word is or the term, just the mere fact that you are stepping up to be in charge of this and you are taking full accountability. Even though you may have a bookkeeper, an accountant, financial coach, other people who are handling things, it's really on you, and you're really taking that in and taking that seriously. So the next part goes on to say, we turn our attention to our actual financial results, study our cash flow cycle, and forecast cash flow into the future. So I'll repeat it so everybody can take it in. We turn our attention to our actual financial results, study our cash flow cycle, and forecast cash flow into the future. So for us to be able to do that, we actually have to have financial results in a meaningful way. So if we're small and we're doing it in Excel, that's okay, as long as we're recapping what are our sales, what are our expenses, what other key metrics do we need to have, or you're doing bookkeeping and you're actually looking at those results monthly. Okay. We're understanding when a customer comes to deal with us, how does the money flow through the business? We're thinking through that. And I think for most of you, you were able to think through that on Monday and start that process of how is the money going to move. And then we take the time to actually forecast cash flow into the future, which this is a great time of year to do that. We're sitting here poised at the start of Q4 for the calendar year. We're already probably starting to think about what are we going to do in 2022. If we understand our cash flow cycle, then we might want to plan certain events or promotional periods where we're going to go out and actively solicit more clients at once. We're going to tie them maybe to, especially for Luann and Stephanie, around probably holidays and certain milestones that are going to happen that work nicely with what's going on. We're always going to have lead generation activities underway, but we might be able to pinpoint those dates so that when we're looking at our cash flow forecast, we can think reasonably about, okay, we're going to have an injection of cash come in at this time. And that reasonably is going to look like this. So you can start to see how the pieces are fitting together. And it's kind of like being a financial detective, like when you're first getting all the pieces and you're gathering them. And I know it's fun for me. I like to put the pieces together like a puzzle, but it can be fun for you when you see, okay, now this fits with my plans for the business. This is my strategy for what I want to do in 2022. And I need to know how my cash flow is working and where I might be short so I can start driving different activities as the year goes on. So you could quickly map out the next 4 quarters for 2022. What are kind of events or promotional periods you're going to have? And then you can work from that master and kind of get into more granular detail. But it's about the fun part, the strategy. Where do you want your business to go? What are you going to do in it to hit the goals that you have for yourself? And so the numbers help you get there. The historical ones help you see what's been happening and allow you to either keep doing what you're doing or make changes going forward. And then the cash flow forecast allows you to see, where am I going to have that challenge? Where might things be tighter than I want? Okay, maybe I'm going to open up some spots to do this special thing so I can raise more cash at that time. Or maybe I need to accelerate something I'm working on and get it out there sooner. So however you want to deal with it. It could be, because I know everyone's business is different, but one thing that would work really well is maybe you want to start really working hard and dedicating time to referral relationships. Who are the natural people that you regularly receive referrals from, and can you meet with them regularly? Can you ask them to support you more formally? Are you open to paying them if they do refer people? And that can bring in more clients. And Lindy shared with us and asked the question about taking a loan to bring on a staff member. If you're bringing on debt, you want to have all these tools in your toolbox to make sure you got that steady pipeline of clients coming through so that the cash flow doesn't fall off at a certain point in time. Because what happens is this happens to everybody. We get busy in client delivery and our lead generation efforts might slow down. And then we do some more lead generation, then we get busy on delivery, and we don't want it to be like that. We want to have delivery and lead gen happening all at the same time. And then numbers help us see what are those ups and downs. So if I saw people nodding, so if that is the pattern that's been there before, when you look historically, you're going to see that in your results too. You're probably going to have slower months, and then the sales are going to spike, and then they're going to go down again. And how can you level that off? So thinking of everything that's worked for you before, what can you do to keep all those things going? Okay. So the next part says, when we have these basics covered, we can dig into profitability, pricing, and get paid consistently. So when we have these basics covered, we can dig into profitability, pricing, and get paid consistently. So we want to make sure we're working so hard. We want to make sure that we are making money. We want to make sure that we're priced right and that we're doing it in a way that allows us to get paid, because we're not doing this for some kind of charitable organization. So we want to make sure we're getting paid for our time. And maybe the way we're going about it, maybe we can be a little bit more effective. I like what Lindy put in the chat: cap every day client acquisition process. Yeah. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So I know Lou and I talk about this a little bit, like about getting paid regularly, and but there is an investment that we've had to do, like it's kind of like R&D, where we've actually had to develop the products, write the book. Like, I mean, I spent 2 years writing that book. Like, a lot of these things haven't been recouped, I guess, yet. And I know from teaching marketing, a lot of times, the costs are, your profits aren't going to come for a while, even in the growth stage, because you're still investing. So there's a recognition that there is that investment for a while. Like, I don't know how many years that's supposed to be for, but
yeah, I think though, even if you're starting to expense those drawings, but not take the cash out, like that's a way that you still can do that, so that later years when the cash is available, you can then pay that out. So it'll be almost sitting as an accounts payable to you on your balance sheet. Because as we talked about earlier with COVID, certainly government supports were predicated on there being some level of compensation going out and some kind of T4 earnings in Canada for companies to gain support. So just being mindful of, on the personal side, that you're protected as well, and so that you can show some income. But I absolutely hear you from a cash flow perspective and investment at the beginning, and then depending what else you have on the go, website takes investment, because it's not inexpensive as you update all of those things and you get your shopping cart working optimally and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's a balancing act.
It does come though, right? It's the
yes,
idea.
It does. Yeah, and so then you might start thinking about, what is the time horizon that we're comfortable not getting regular pay, and at what point do we want that to change, and then what can we do now to drive things potentially faster so that you're making more money, so that you're recouping that investment, and then you're going to accelerate the timeline to get the payday. And it's personal choice and preference, what you choose to do, what other things you have going on, how you're going to go about it. Because if you were able to secure, just kind of throwing it out there, what if you secured paid speaking sessions at 10 colleges and universities in the next couple months, and as part of it they bought the books, or they buy the book and they have a minimum book purchase, and that's the compensation? You could drive a lot of revenue that way. And certainly you guys are in Canada, but why not tap into the US as well, where there's just so many more educational institutions? Or what if you could get to high schools? What if a school board picked you up and they would buy books for everybody?
Yeah.
So that would change things really quickly and accelerate the timeline. So it's now probably planting lots of seeds, or trying to start harvesting some of the seeds you've already planted, and then see how that can map out from a cash flow perspective.
Yeah, we're still kind of waiting to see. We've got seeds where we're just like, which is the thing that's going to take off?
Yeah, you can't dig them up to look and see if they're growing, because then that wrecks what's happening under the surface. But another option would even be to pair up with some kind of wealth management firms, because the people who would be there, they probably need that kind of support for their kids. Like the people who actually get the services from wealth management, and those people have money. So wealth management firm is probably a great one who could spend the money and have like a client event, and everybody who comes gets the book or in a free chat with you guys. So with this age group, because I target the same age group as you for some of my things, you got to go where the money is. And everybody wants what you're selling. They don't all want to pay. So where can you get the money?
Right.
Okay. So that's great, and absolutely recognition of that. And I'm sure Livia had some thoughts on that because she shared earlier in the week about the different challenges.
You know, this is the big one, because I am just one client and I got my investor, and my investor took over the big company and is not choosing to do anything, including giving me my job as a CEO, telling me what's going on and what, you know, his plans are. Says nothing. So it's like, how do I pull his words out of him? It's such a well, and I've been dealing with this for the past 18 months. Guess what?
Yeah.
I was hoping that at 18 months, maybe he's choosing to write a check. So even that, because that's like the time frame where, you know, the next step of investment is being made, right? So I don't want to say up because I'm here. So
Yes.
I'm not giving up.
Yes.
But
Certainly a challenging situation that you need to kind of maneuver through. So it's good. You're still smiling, so that's good.
Oh yeah, I will forever smile.
That's good. Very good. And so the last part on page 11 is, throughout, we have issue-focused conversations with our stakeholders and implement new routines as described on the resource page. So let's jump over to page 16 because I want to talk about how are we going to do this. So this is the last page in your workbook. So I call it your biz money routine, however you want to think about it. So monthly, kind of the nuts and bolts that has to happen is the bookkeeping needs to get done. And you need to reconcile your bank statements, your bank account, your credit card, all of that kind of stuff. That, in my opinion, doesn't need to be done by the business owner, but if you like to do it, wonderful. But it should be done by someone every single month. And if you think, I had this exact conversation with a client last night, up until this point, we've been working together since August. He's been going to do his own bookkeeping, and he was adamant he was going to do his bookkeeping. And then over the last few weeks, I made him go and do a whole bunch of stuff in a spreadsheet. And he's like, this was horrible. I was struggling. I didn't know what to do with the numbers. My numbers don't add up. I don't know how to use the QuickBooks very well. I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's what I expected you were going to tell me. He's like, it was so many hours and I only have this to show you and it's not very much. I'm like, yep, that's what happens. So it's not that anyone is actually incapable of doing it. All of you are smart. Everyone can learn, but is that the best use of your time? Or would you be better off looking for new clients or nurturing existing deals that you have in your pipeline? So it's not about can you or can't you. Everyone can do it. It's a straightforward program. You can learn. There's lots of tutorials. There's no trouble. But should you do it? Are you going to make that commitment to do your monthly stuff on a certain timeline so that you can actually use it to help inform your business? And you can get a bookkeeper, certainly in Canada, even a good one, probably for like close to 60 an hour or something. So depending on the size of your business, it's probably not that many hours even in a month for somebody to do that. And they get it all set up properly and they just run with it. So think about your time versus their time. What's the best use of it? But know that all of you are equally capable of learning and doing. Now from the management side, this is really important. And Barb's not here today, but Barb and Maggie work together as well, just like Luann and Stephanie. Especially when there's more than one person, it is even more critical that you set up routines and you have regular meetings about the financial side of the business. So at a minimum, you should be meeting with yourself once a month. I highly recommend weekly, have a short burst, like a 30 minutes. You spend time every week on client delivery, on new business, on all kinds of operational stuff. I'm sure you can make time for 30 minutes for the financial stuff. So one of these meetings, you might be sitting down to look at your actual financial results from the month before. So if you have a budget in place, you're going to compare how did you do, or if you just have your actuals, you're going to look at them and see what did that look like. If the bookkeeping was already done for you, you're just getting them to run a report, or you're running that report out of the QuickBooks or out of your Excel, and you're looking at it. What's going well? What do I want to ask questions about? And maybe the first meeting is actually with the bookkeeper, asking those questions that we talked about yesterday, right? Things like, what do you notice when you looked at the September results? What jumped out for you? Does this look like other companies that you see? If you were me, what would you be happy about? What would you be worried about? And so that might be that first meeting. Then you're going to look at your cash flow forecast. Ideally, you're going to have that for a 6-month forward-looking view. You're going to be able to come along and put your actual results in for the month just ended, September. You're going to see how does the rest of the 5 months look, make tweaks based on new information you have, because business is always changing. And now we're closer to those months. We have more sightline on what we're going to do. Tack another month on the end. If you have an accounting software, you would be able to set up in there key performance indicators, or you might keep track of them yourself in terms of just having them in Excel. So for different things, it might be, how many reach outs have I made? Do you know your actual conversion rate? So if you put this many people in the top of the funnel, how many actually have a call with you? Then how many actually are getting closer to maybe wanting a proposal or making a purchase? And so how do you track that? Because if you work backwards from closing a sale, you'll know from your history how long it takes to get there or how many people it takes to get there. You'll also know this is more of a longer term thing. So setting up presentations with all kinds of colleges or universities, that's a little bit more work to do that. But you could certainly go on and do a podcast appearance that might reach out to lots of family members that maybe you could get some one-off purchases from, something like that. So what is the trending that's happening? And for each of you, it's going to be a little bit different in your business, things that you want to monitor. And then you can use that cash flow every time you've got to make a decision. I want to hire someone. If I put this number in, what happens? Is there enough cash available? So these are the sorts of things that you'll be able to do. Now, because it's probably a brand new practice, the first meeting, you might be just sitting there thinking about, what do I want to do? What should I look at? And then you're going to do it again next week, but you're going to carve that time out in your schedule so that it doesn't get skipped, it doesn't get missed, and absolutely more critical when there's multiple people. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So Tracy, if all my stuff is in QuickBooks,
Yeah,
just super logistical, right? I assume I'm doing the forecasting in Excel, right? I'm pulling numbers out.
yeah,
And that way I can play with different
yeah.
possibilities, right?
The cash flow, remember, is forward looking though. So you'll be able to rely on historical information to help inform you, but you'll be
Right.
coming up with new numbers for the
Right.
future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guesstimates
Absolutely.
based on history plus what I think might change.
What's going on in the economy, what's going on in your region, what's your pipeline like, all of that kind of stuff. And there is a cash flow forecasting tool in there, but I don't know anyone who can use it well and properly. So I would just stay away from that, because you don't want to get so bogged down in the technical that you miss the main purpose of doing the forecasting. And so that's to help give you clarity and make decisions quickly with confidence. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
The other thing though, Stephanie, you should do for McCullough, if you have a budget. So I think it's always great to have a budget, even if you start for, say, 2022, what do I want my sales to be? What do I expect the expenses to be? And then try to break it out by month. So sometimes it's easier to take like the total, and even if you're not sure if there's any seasonality to it, just divide by 12. You can input that into QuickBooks so that when you look at, say, your January financial statements, you can look at actual compared to your budget. And that's easy to do in there. But I wouldn't make the budget in QuickBooks. I would fool around with it in Excel till you like it, then input it just once. And then that way you're getting so much more information, because when your actual spits out against your budget, oh, wow, I did better than I thought in sales. Why did that happen? Why did I think that initially, and now what's going on? Stephanie Kunar, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about the budget idea, because I like looking at the actual versus budget. And so, so that's the cash flow forecasting. You said not to worry about that piece in QuickBooks, but we could put in our actual.
Yeah, and you guys are using
budget.
QuickBooks too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I would make the budget first in Excel. So even just on a different tab of your cash flow forecast, just to play with the numbers, because especially you might have a lot of time themed promotions, like graduation, holidays, like Christmas holidays, like great gift, stuff like that. And so you're probably going to have bursts of revenue, and you want to probably play around with how those are going to line up. And so play with your expenses are a little bit easier, but then enter it right into QuickBooks, and then you're able to run even like a year to date. Say it's we're in June 2022. You run your January through May. It's going to show actual against your budget. And so when you put the budget in by month, it'll aggregate it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's I like looking at the history, and then, you know, that's what we're trying to figure out, right? Is the pattern. Yeah. Hey, Lou?
Or do you want to create a new pattern?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Because if you have all spikes like throughout the year, you might want to try to get some level and still some spikes.
Right.
So, and that makes it easier then to recoup investment and then start paying yourself. Okay. Any other questions? That's page 16. Those are the kinds of things I want you to think about. The key takeaway about the routine is I want you to make it a routine. So you have managed to spare 4 days in a row time to come and see me, right? So imagine this is your business. You can spare a half an hour a week to be on this, okay? And it's going to, the first few meetings with yourself or with your partner, it's not going to seem that dramatic, but over time, your confidence increases, you know your numbers, you start to know that when I do this, this is going to happen. When I now know that when I make X amount of reach outs, I'm going to be able to close Y number of sales, and you start to be more of a student of your own business and drive the results you want to see. Okay. Just before I go back to the other page, on page 15, there's some other resources there that can help you. So right at the top, there's a link that will take you to the business financial fitness assessment. So it's kind of a little quiz to see how financially fit you are. There's some Young Money podcasts. I put the links there that you might find of use or relevance. So the episode 150, like the top 3 biz money mistakes to avoid, that's always a good one. Episode 155 is cute. I talk about my niece's little jewelry business, but how does it apply to pricing? And so that's just would be a way to keep that top of mind. Naima in episode 163, she was actually a student of the Cash Control Bootcamp before, and she talked about her social media business and digital marketing. And she talked about how through going through the boot camp, she was able to realize that she had the ability to charge a lot more, and that she could actually have less clients and work less hours and make more money. So she increased her prices, she worked less, and she made more money. And so she's a very dynamic individual, go-getter, hustling all the time. But she was always having a real keen eye on her financial results. She actually had banked 6 months salary before she hired someone, which is phenomenal. Most people are not in that position before they go and do that hiring. But she realized just when pieces started to click together, it's not that anything was novel, but it was that attention to her business. Prices went up, number of clients went down, and profitability went way up. And she was starting to feel more rested and recharged. So then she could actually focus more on the strategic parts of the business. And the last link there is gets you to the same place as the link I shared in the chat for the CEO interviews, where you can hear from those different women. And they're across all different industries. So you can check them out. All right, so now we're going to go back to page 12. It's our last page for today. And I want you to think about this key takeaway. If I step up as the CEO of the complete business, including the financial side, what will that look like and how will I feel? So take a moment to jot that down, because you're feeling the momentum of the week. You're feeling empowered. You've been taking action. You're being inspired by each other. So if I really stick with this, what will that look like and how will I feel? What would be possible? So jot it down so you don't forget, because you're going to want to be reminded, especially when you're tired of looking at your numbers and things feel hard and you're frustrated. It's all for this bigger purpose. Thank you, Stephanie. She says great workbook. So then in terms of action items, what are the next actions that I need to take to step up as the CEO of my complete business? And so just a reminder here, you don't need to do it alone. Nobody's saying you need to become a QuickBooks wizard overnight. You don't need to become an accountant yourself, but what is it you're going to do? And what are those small forward steps, imperfect actions that you're going to take? Because they all count and they all matter. You've already taken 4 days sequentially to show up here with me, whether we were live or you caught the replay. And I can sense the excitement and the nervousness. Because what's possible is significant. Pretty much anything you want to put out there, you can do. It's just, how are you going to go about it?
You can sense all that over Zoom, Tracy?
I can. I'm watching you guys. Yeah. And I know from the notes I'm getting, I know from the calls I'm having. So I know what the feelings are. And I've certainly been in the position to observe lots of entrepreneurs over the years. So I can tell what's going on. So, and so now, like, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's interesting, like we are picking up more on Zoom because they are saying that we're losing a lot from being on Zoom, from picking up body language, but I think we're getting actually better at it.
Yeah, I think people are more focused because it's easy to be distracted in person. Easy to be like on your phone, something's happening, you're looking around, but I think people do purposely pay more attention. So that is good. So I want to drop something else here in the chat for you. So I had a couple calls yesterday, and I would love to talk to anybody who has got the start of a plan, not sure what their plan is. I want to make sure you've got action steps in place to take this further. And so as I mentioned yesterday, we kind of go two paths here at the end of the week. We're going to have bonus sessions tomorrow, so I do hope you come and join me. Certainly one will be around money mindset. We'll keep it to an hour again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's a chance for you to ask any other questions that have come up as you've gone through the week. But I want to make sure that you're getting something mapped out that's going to lead you to success. So we'd love to hop on a call, talk about what that plan is. For some of you, you're going to take everything you've learned and keep going on your journey, and that's wonderful. And I hope that you keep me apprised of your progress. I hope that you check out the podcast and my live show, where you're going to continue to get tidbits and information, and I want to see what you're up to. But I know some of you will require and want to have additional support because you know you've got some really tangible things you want to work through. And so my invitation to you is to join me for the Cash Control Bootcamp. We're kicking things off on November 2nd. And it's a 6-week live online program where we work in a group, and we're really going to go deep on everything we've done here. We're actually going to have tools and templates for every work week that we're doing. I'm going to tell you the weeks here. So we're going to look at actually doing a cash flow forecast. So you will have an Excel template to actually work through that. We're going to work through pricing. So there's another tool that helps you do that. Go deeper on navigating those stakeholder conversations. We're also going to get into how do we maintain that recurring level of revenue, and what do we need to do so we're not having those peaks and valleys in our cash flow, which is so hard to manage. Going to talk about profit leaks and brainstorm where is money leaking outside of our business right now. And it's actually quite, I'll say scary, but it's when you start looking at all the places money is leaking, it's pretty amazing because at the surface, you probably think, yeah, this doesn't, that's not happening. That's not happening in my business. But every time you defer a decision, you don't move something forward, time is happening, and that's profit that's not going to be able to be earned. So that's a really fun section for us to work on that. So it's 6 weeks. It's live with me on Zoom, where we are right now, hour and a half each. Barb and I were talking about it yesterday. If you're 2 people in your business, it just counts as one purchase. You come together, you can come both, or you can certainly trade off on sessions, but you're both welcome as one attendee. And we start off in the program with a pre-assessment. So you can kind of measure where's your level of financial fitness. And then we do it again at the end to track the progress so you can actually see. And as I mentioned with Naima, she was able to increase her prices, reduce her clients, and actually work less hours. In the summer round that we had a few fellow CEO activators were in the group, and they were able to actually scale down their product offerings. They were in different businesses, but they were offering too many options for clients. And so when they actually did the profitability by option, they were able to see which ones were really not worth their time. And so brainstorming, and the beauty of it being live is that I can answer questions on anything as we're going through. And there are 2 1-hour office hours sessions as well. So I would love for all of you to join me on the journey for Cash Control Bootcamp. I know for some of you, it may not be the right time, may not be the right fit. So would love to have a chat about that. So see how I can support you best as you move forward. What questions do you have that I can answer? We'll be wrapped up before the holidays, so you don't need to worry about this hanging over into the end of December. So the last day is December 7th. Of that, everything's recorded. So if you do happen to miss one, you're not missing any content. Everybody's thinking. That's great. I'm glad I've got you thinking. So I'm going to sign off for today. I'll stop the recording. If anybody wants to stay and chat, happy to do that. Please do book a call with me, regardless of which route you're going. I would love to make sure that you've got those steps planned out. We will have bonus sessions tomorrow at 2 p.m. So join us. Thank you, Lindy. Yes, I'm going today with my puppy. So thank you very much for the good wishes. So we'll wish her well. She's here sleeping somewhere. I could hear her snoring. So hopefully you guys can hear her snoring.
May I just say how much I've enjoyed this series and the community and the other people in the boxes here. It's been relaxed, and yet I've learned and had a chance to think, and appreciate all the comments from everybody else too.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Luann. I really appreciate you saying that. And that's the point. The financial side of your business shouldn't be stressful, and it shouldn't be someone condescending to you or explaining things in a crazy way. And we should be in it together. So thank you to everyone who's been participating. I really appreciate that. Some of you as well, I dropped it here in the links up a little bit higher. You may want to sign up and come to our weekly meetups. Where it's the same kind of atmosphere, but there's not necessarily a training. We'll have a chat. People can talk about what's going on in their business. And there's no pressure to attend every week. If you can make it, you make it. If not, you see us another day.
Is that meetup in the big thing, right? The
Yeah,
post?
I can find it again here.
I see it here now.
Biz Money Club, it's called.
Good names there, Tracy.
Oh, thanks. It's my all these new skills I learned after becoming a banker. It's amazing what I was able to learn when I used to be really good at 3 things. So
Well, I think that's it too. I mean, as Luann was saying, right? Like everybody's got their strengths and their expertises, and to just not be, feel bad about, what you don't know, right? And it's something that you can learn. And there's people out there that, as we know with Luann and I know through our strengths training, the people love to share what they're good at too. So when you're asking people, or Tracy, I'm sure you get your batteries charged up by sharing your knowledge and helping us. I can see that. So, we've all got those different things to share with each other. And that's the mission we're on too. I think Luann and I is like getting people to share their expertise and having a good team around you. So appreciate it. It's been good.
Thank you. And I was thinking of you this morning because I was doing a podcast guest appearance, and the show is the Connect and Bloom podcast. And the woman who has it, she was one of the founders of Lean in Canada, that organization.
Oh yeah.
And the podcast is all about networking. And it was some of the questions she was asking was reminding me of what we spoke about that with your tips for students. So it was great. Thank you. All right, ladies, I'm going to stop the recording. I'll hang around for anybody who wants to ask any questions or chat. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow, where we're going to go into money mindset. But if I don't, I'm wishing you all the very best. Okay, take care. Have a great day, everybody. And I hope to see you back tomorrow for our bonus sessions.